Howdy y'all, Jackson here with IckJerk Studios, and I'm back with another Madden Expansion Pack. This one for receivers, both wide receivers and tight ends. Coming in first, we have the last football Gronkowski brother, Dan Gronkowski. With his addition, you'll now be able to fully Gronk up your roster to get to the top. He stands at 6'5", 255 pounds, out of Maryland. Playing tight end like brother Rob, he hails from Williamsville, New York, and is 32 years old. He has had a fairly minimal playing career statistically, with only his senior season at Maryland being of note, where he hauled in 29 receptions for 287 yards and 3 touchdowns. Apart from that, he's played sparingly, tallying up 4 NFL teams in 5 seasons. He calculates in at a 59 overall, with 65 speed, 62 strength, 63 catching, 68 catch in traffic, 58 spectacular catch, and 63, 63, and 62 across the route tree. So obviously not an overall pickup, he might be useful for name recognition in, say, an online franchise mode with friends. Next up, we have a 3-time CFL All-Star in Brandon Banks. This 5'7", 160-pound freak of nature had the distinction of being one of the smallest players in professional football. This 30-year-old Kansas State product by way of Garner, North Carolina, has come into his own as a wide receiver over the last 2 seasons, but will be remembered in the NFL for his returning ability. Though he would start his collegiate career in the California Community College Athletic Association, he would garner enough interest to transfer to Division I Kansas State for his final 2 seasons of eligibility, where he would go on to be a 1,000-yard receiver during his junior year and a stud returner. At the professional level, he would go undrafted, but would see action with the Washington Redskins, collecting consecutive 1,000-yard returning seasons before trailing off in his 3rd year, leading to his movement north of the border. In Canada, he would find a home in Hamilton, first as a return specialist, excelling in both kick and punts, before breaking out as a receiver in the 2017 season, where he has since collected 2 consecutive 1,000-yard receiving seasons. Returning to the NFL, he calculates as a 64 overall, with 97 speed, 84 jumping, 69 catching, 64 catch in traffic, 66 spectacular catch, and 65, 65, and 64 across the route tree. Don't let his low receiving skills dissuade you. This man is a killer in the return game, and worth picking up. The third player in this expansion pack is future Hall of Famer Devin Hester. This 5'11", 190-pound Miami product from Rivera Beach, Florida, is ready to resume his reign as the king of returns. For this 35-year-old receiver, much like Brandon Banks, is not remembered for his receiving ability, but for his returning ability. He played 3 seasons for the U, playing in all 3 phases of the game: wide receiver, defensive back, and return man. During his time there, he would not find the end zone offensively, but would find it 6 times in the return game. He'd be selected in the 2nd round of the NFL Draft by the Chicago Bears, originally as a cornerback, but mostly as a return specialist. He would have a memorable rookie campaign, scoring 5 special teams touchdowns, and most notably returned the opening kickoff of Super Bowl 41 for a touchdown. From there, he would have a presumed Hall of Fame career in the return game, but always came up short offensively, after switching to wide receiver in his sophomore season. With that said, he calculates as a 65 overall, with 86 speed, 83 jumping, 72 catching, 68 catch in traffic, 72 spectacular catch, and 69, 69, and 68 across the route tree. And as with Brandon Banks, don't be discouraged by his lack of receiving attributes, as he certainly makes up for them in the 3rd phase of the game. From one presumed Hall of Famer to another, especially for counting celebrations, we now shift our attention to Chad Ochocinco Johnson. The 6'1", 192-pound wide receiver out of Oregon State by way of Miami Beach, Florida, was an icon of the 2000s. The 40-year-old has clung to hopes of one day returning to the NFL, playing in both Canada and Mexico as recently as last season. He would start academically in Langston University, though he did not play on the football program, before transferring to Santa Monica College of the 3C2A, where he did play football for 2 seasons, before then completing his collegiate career at Oregon State. He would then go on to be selected in the 2nd round of the NFL Draft by the Cincinnati Bengals, and would become a household name. He would find himself traded to the New England Patriots before the 2011 season. Though things did not work out there, he would at least play in his sole Super Bowl of his career, where he collected 1 reception for 21 yards and a 21-17 loss to the New York Giants. The following season, he would find himself in Miami, before an arrest would end his NFL career. After a season out of football, he would make his way to Canada, with the Montreal Alouettes, spending 1 year playing and another suspended, before seemingly hanging up his cleats. But then a year later, he'd find himself south of the border for a 1-game experience in which he caught 3 passes, one of which went for a touchdown. And with that, he comes in as the highest rated prospect of this expansion pack, at a 77 overall, with 89 speed, 88 jumping, 84 catching, 69 catch in traffic, 90 spectacular catch, and 85, 84, and 83 across the route tree. Certainly worth a 1-year contract offer to bolster a receiving core. Lastly, we have another icon of the 2000s. You can't think of Chad Johnson without also thinking of Terrell Owens. And like Johnson, Owens also hopes of a professional comeback, despite already having been elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The 44-year-old, 6'3", 224-pound Chattanooga product by way of Alexander City, Alabama, even had a tryout with the CFL team as recently as this past season. The wide receiver had an enormously successful but turbulent career after being selected in the third round of the 1996 NFL Draft by the San Francisco 49ers. From there, he would collect 1,078 receptions for 15,934 yards and 153 touchdowns on 6 different teams over the course of a 16-year-long NFL career, as well as a partial season pit stop in the Indoor Football League with the Allen Wranglers, where he collected an additional 35 receptions for 420 yards and 10 touchdowns. With that, he calculates to a 68 overall, with 75 speed, 74 jumping, 69 catching, 73 catch in traffic, 74 spectacular catch, and 91, 90, and 89 across the route tree. He may not be the number one target he used to be, but he can still be useful for depth, and you can help him move back up the all-time leaderboards. Thank you for watching this episode of the Madden Expansion Pack. If you liked it, please leave a like. If you didn't, feel free to leave a dislike. And please subscribe if you haven't already. If you see an error in my rating or have a player you'd like to see in a future episode, please let me know in the comments below. Once again, thank you for watching. Bye.